Welcome to Impact Podcast. I'm trying to act like Jeremy, but my name is Maddie Atkinson, and I am your host, along with Jeremy Melton. And we will be interviewing someone for the next 30 minutes to an hour, or however long you choose to tune in. On this show, we will uncover some things about life that can help you on your journey to make an impact on the world that we live in. Our highlight question: what kind of impact are you making on the world? Remember, our goal on this show is to generate the desire to understand it sooner rather than later. This is episode number 20. We have Dr. Miki Edwards with us today. Hello, how are you? So last week, Jeremy, we discussed humility, and you were on the chopping block. Not really, but
I was.
You weren't expecting some of the questions that our guest, or I guess guest host almost, guest teacher Miller asked you. So what was your key takeaway?
First of all, yes, I was on the chopping block. I wasn't prepared for questions. He said he was teaching, but I should have been prepared. It was good. I really enjoyed the podcast. Miller did a great job at talking about humility and what it is and what it's not. But my key takeaway was a couple different things. But the main thing was when we talked about, again, what it was and what it's not, and the difference between humility and what we might call being confident. And so it was interesting. I don't really know the key takeaway, though, because there's so many different things that he said that was good.
One thing that we all kind of talked about and touched on was that being confident doesn't mean that you're not being humble. Right. And that was kind of my key takeaway, to remember when I'm talking to someone who's just being confident in what they're doing, and myself to be more confident.
No, that's good. I mean, I don't want to say the key takeaway was what I said, but, the dichotomy is the most interesting thing to me, which is the balance between being humble and ambitious and an entrepreneur and a leader. You got to kind of be both. You got to look for both. You got to have some pride with what you do. Otherwise, why are you doing it? And so I don't know. Anyway, we didn't get into all that detail, but the difference and the similarities and the balance, I guess you would say, was probably the thing for me. So anyway.
All right. Okay, I was like, that's the end of my notes. You go.
Dr. Miki. Dr. Edwards is here, and so I'm excited that she's here.
Me too.
Our first female.
I know.
It took you 20 episodes to get here.
Listen, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should have, when we first started this podcast. Yeah. When we first started the podcast, I was voluntold to be on it. I think I've said that before, but I was just going to help with like the marketing and stuff of it. And then they were like, wait, we want a girl. Come on.
Huh.
No, and it's been great, but yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Our first female interview. And I'm excited about that. I'm gonna let these girls just tear the house down over here.
Perfect.
I think we can help you out.
Yeah.
We can help you out.
Let's do it. Before we start, Miss Edwards. Dr. Edwards.
It's just Miki.
Okay.
It's just Miki.
You can be humble if you want. Let's talk about your family. Tell us who you are, what you do. I normally introduce the guest with all these titles, and just tell us who you are.
Okay. Well, my name is Miki Edwards. I am married to Steve Edwards. We are both from Conyers, and we have two boys that are grown and flown and gainfully employed. So we're very excited about that. Our oldest is Bryce. He's 26, and Brett is 24. We live here in Madison and have enjoyed it very much. We have a lot of people who give us a hard time about being from another place, and I say, well, we got here as soon as we could. And then I say, you should see who we left behind.
Wow.
So so be glad you got us. But we are we're just folks that like to work really hard and have been very fortunate all of our lives and have been supported with strong families and just made our way. And it's been really gratifying. So I came here was the principal here at the high school and helped build their college and career academy for 8 years. And then I just retired June 30th, took a nap in July, and have now working as the executive director of the Wheelhouse, which is an amazing nonprofit here in Morgan County that works to support small business, entrepreneurship, and to help connect mentors with those folks. And it has been just an amazing opportunity to watch connections being made and how that works.
It's funny you threw that in there, so thank you for doing that. The Wheelhouse, I've had like 4 people I've told in the past week about the Wheelhouse, and they said, "What's the Wheelhouse?" And very few people know about the Wheelhouse, and I think Dr. Edwards has a mission to make people know about the Wheelhouse. But do tell us, and we're not plugging the Wheelhouse here, but do tell us, what's the point of the Wheelhouse, real quick?
So several years ago here in town, there were some very smart-minded folks who were looking at how to allow a place like Morgan County to be a good place for entrepreneurs to grow, innovation, support small business. So, and then we also had someone else involved who was constantly being asked by other entrepreneurs, "How do you do this? How give me some advice, help me make these connections." And those folks got connected. That'll be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
And came up with this concept, and they began meeting monthly. It's something we call Coffee and Conversation. It's 8:15 on the third Thursday of every month. And it is so organic, the people who show up to either come and share ideas or come and offer help. And what has happened, and the model that we're developing, we're calling it the CREW model, because it involves surrounding people with coaches, resources, and just to help create a place where it's safe to grow. When you think about a wheelhouse on a boat, the real definition of a wheelhouse, I mean, obviously it's where you steer the boat, but the actual wheelhouse is there to protect the people who are navigating the ship. And so that's what the Wheelhouse does. We want to create a place for you to be safe while you're navigating your business.
Wow.
And it's a privilege. It is just it's a mighty privilege. And so one of the things we've been doing the most of lately, we got our space. We're up above the Welcome Center here in town in Madison. And we've been offering some really cool workshops, whether it's on how to best use Google or AI or marketing or sales and things like that, just to provide support and education for our folks.
So entrepreneurs out there, if you heard it first here on Impact, but check them out. And where did you say you're located? On top of which building?
We are above the Welcome Center.
The Welcome Center,
which is on the square right there where the post office is.
So go right there, go up top, and look for Dr. Edwards and maybe some of her folks up there that can help you get where you need to be. Mm-hmm. So that's good stuff.
It is good stuff. It's fun.
And your family's good. I met your husband, Steve. He's a nice guy. He appraised my house a while back. Very nice guy. And so, again, thank you for coming today.
I'm glad to be here. So. And if you really understood the irony of this, I earned all the time N's in conduct in middle school for talking too much.
N's in conduct.
I was grounded probably my entire middle school career. And I remember my mother at one point going out of deep frustration saying, "I hope you get a job where all you have to do is talk one day."
So that's funny.
I went into education. So
that's funny.
I get to do it too.
Funny.
All right, let's talk shop.
Okay.
Maddie, ask her some questions.
All right. So, what is your approach to motivating others?
Wow, she just dug right in.
All right, we'll go deep. Leadership is fascinating to me. It absolutely is. And when you're talking about motivating people, you have to know who they are in order to motivate. And, there's the stick, there's the carrot, there's chocolate, there's all the things. There is a construct that I learned a lot about in leadership, and it's really primarily for school leadership, but it translates over to business very well. And it's a construct, and it's called academic optimism. But I need you to think of it as a three-legged stool. Because do you want to work in a place where it's optimistic?
Yep.
Of course you do. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's 3 parts to it. And the first part is academic emphasis. And that means you are paying attention to the business of the work, of what is supposed to be good and it's supposed to be done well. Now that can translate over into any other business. You're going to focus on that. The second part of it is called faculty trust. You've got to have the people that you're leading and working with trust you in order for that work to be good, right? The third piece of that is called collective efficacy, and that fits everywhere in leadership. And that's that belief that we can do what we've set out to do. And when you get all three of those pieces working really well together, you can go very far. Mm-hmm. But it boils down to a leader knowing himself or herself and also getting to know your people.
Self-aware,
and building trust. And to me, if you ever ask what it all will ever boil down to, it's, are the people you're leading, will they trust you? And once that happens, and you can help them believe that they can do whatever you're asking them to do, the sky's the limit.
That's motivating. Mm-hmm. So you think that you would say that the way you motivate others is by implementing such said policy, or what would you call that?
It's not policy. It has to be it's kind of a belief system.
Oh, okay.
Are we going to do our finest work? Are we going to be able to do it together? And are we going to trust each other while we're doing it? Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean it's all sunshine and roses and woo-woo all the time? No. But when you leave that base there, when things go wrong or things get hard, you can lean back to it. You're not losing a lot of steps along the way.
The three-legged stool.
The three-legged stool.
So you go back to the stool idea here, which and pardon me, I'm slow. Leg number one was
academic emphasis
okay.
on whatever you're doing to make your product, your process, whatever the best.
Okay.
That this is what we're really supposed to be focused on.
Okay. So you're maintaining your focus. Mm-hmm. All right. Number two
is the collective efficacy. It can be any order, but collective efficacy that we as a group believe that we can do this together.
So you're focusing on teamwork. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then your third part is faculty trust. Do your people trust you? And if you do something that upsets or they don't understand, do you go have that conversation so that they understand the why? Here's why I'm having to do this.
So vision, team, trust.
Goes across the board.
Yeah. So if you were going to simplify it for somebody like me, vision, team, trust, those are the three things that you have to have in order to motivate, is basically what she's saying. Right, Maddie?
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. I would say, can you expand on the trust part? How do you build trust?
I think the trust fully comes down to, will you get down there and do the work? Can they trust you because they know you have their best interest in mind?
Tyler said that.
And that you can, I'm never going to ask someone to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And even if I don't understand how to do it, I'm going to stand by you. And I used to tell folks, sometimes there are days that you lead from the back, that your job is to keep the cats in the road and moving in the same direction, but you're making sure nobody falls behind. You're making sure that the goal still stays ahead of you and that you're all moving in the same direction. Some days your job is to lead from the side. And I'm going to lead with you and I'm going to work with you. And I think that's something, as leaders, we have to realize. So I was only in the classroom for 7 years, taught 7th grade science. Got to be a little crazy to do that.
I was like, as soon as she said 7th grade, I was like,
I loved it though.
Brave.
I loved it because if you weren't loving them, give them 5 minutes and they were a different person. Yeah. It was great.
Wow.
But
this morning in my house,
that's how you roll. And so, and then I was in administration for 25 years. Well, am I the right person to tell you, the high school biology teacher, exactly how to do this when the technology has changed, behaviors have changed, and all that? No, my job is to work with you to get the resources you need and then stand beside you while we work out the problem together. You can't, as a leader, always assume that you're the expert, because the last thing we all want to look at is go, you don't know what you're talking about. So that leading from the side, leading from behind, and there are days you have to lead from the front when hard things are happening. But I think as a leader, just understanding you've got to meet your people where they are and what they need at that time.
That's interesting. So many times we hear, get in the ditch, and very few people have put it like
that analogy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, from the front, from the back, or from the side. Or, I mean, like I said, So sometimes you do, in fact, have to let them go in front of you. I've never heard it put like that.
But there's trust there too.
Yeah.
Because you've been working with them along the way.
Right.
And so sometimes
The trust goes both ways.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the employee or whoever it is trusting you, but it's you building the trust that you trust the person.
and then it's fun to let them run. I mean, it's so fun. And I know one thing I was able to say to teachers a lot, which I think, we're not going to break it. You want to go try it? You're not going to break it.
Wow.
And if it does like get a little bit, we'll fix it. It's going to be okay. So I think a lot of that too is to give permission to people to run. Give permission to people go be innovative. You know, you don't have all the answers. Let them come back and bring the ideas and then have some fun with that.
Yeah.
Andy Stanley is one of my favorite podcasters, the leadership podcast. And there was one years ago.
I take offense.
Oh, sorry.
Just kidding.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was your favorite.
It was my favorite.
It was.
And you're totally right. This is my new favorite.
There you go.
But he had someone on that pointed something out that has stuck with me. And he said, when people come to you with an idea or an innovation or something they're excited about, your first question doesn't need to be how. Your first response needs to be wow.
Oh.
So always put the wow before the how.
That's
acknowledge,
wisdom.
I
To
love
acknowledge that. And I've had to catch myself before going, wow.
The wow
We're
before
going to
the
figure out how
how.
to make that work.
One thing that you said earlier, though, was get to know your people. And I think that is really, that's a core thing to do to build trust. Because, I mean, you trust someone, it's just human instinct if you think someone cares about you. And, you know, like make them, if someone knows you, you know, we've got a leader at work who will come up and be like, how are Porter and Murphy? Those are my kids. And Ruben, like, how are they doing? You know? And it's like, wow, you remember their names?
They actually care.
Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, they could have like flashcards, like right before they come up to me or something.
I
But
knew a
they
principal
care.
that did that. He
You
kept
know?
note cards in his pocket,
I
so
mean-
I'm like,
I mean, whatever
Hey.
makes,
whatever works.
yeah. So I think that making sure that your people know that you care and you get to know them. That's, I mean,
If you're
That's so
dealing with a
important.
larger organization, so at the high school, I had over 100 people working there, grown-ups. And one of the things that we did was every Sunday night, I would send out what was called the Monday memo. And I like to work late at night. So we had some people that were like, can you just go ahead and send it out so I can go to bed? I'm like, no, just wait for Monday. It'll be fine. But the one, it had all the things that were going on that week. But I always had a survey, the very last thing, for them to click on and go in and answer. And the survey questions could be anything. I mean, I always tried to ask some really kind of random things, but then also to make sure they'd read the newsletter. But I always asked in there, how can we support you this week? And so for our leadership meeting on Monday, I would share that spreadsheet with them and say, okay, any of these people that you want to go and check on because, you know, they've got
That's
a
so
parent
good.
in the hospital or, you know,
Wow.
something like that. It's so easy.
That's like pastoral type stuff.
Every work needs to be a ministry.
You're
I
a
think.
shepherd, right?
wow.
Some days.
That's good stuff.
Some days, but use technology, you know, to build those spreadsheets and get those questions answered. And but we loved it. We loved looking at those responses. And not every single person responded all the time, but a lot of times it was, I'm giving 3 tests this week. My kid's sick. I've got this huge lab I'm trying to prep, you know, kind of thing. And it just gives you this is where we can go plug in and support you.
So who did you share that with?
My admin team.
Okay.
Which was built up of the administration, the counselors, and a couple other folks.
And they would reach out to your teachers. Wow.
And the teachers would put their name and everything, obviously. So
I did
they
not.
would know.
That was not an anonymous survey.
Okay.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
truly
Yeah. So then
about-
it's like they trust you enough to put in things that they're struggling with, or maybe they're not struggling. Maybe they're just like, I want to help. You know, that could be positive, but they trust you enough to tell you things.
And I learned to reframe that question because I used to say, what do you need help with? Well, you don't want to always ask for help.
Right.
But when you phrase it as, how can we support you?
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes it would also say, or a colleague, because then they might say, I don't need anything this week, but Miss So-and-so is really XYZ. Can you come by her 4th period? You know, kind of thing. And so then they're able to in turn take care of their colleagues.
That's really good.
So,
Wow.
That's really good.
You should just start at an impact.
Yeah, we need an impact email or something. Impact care sheet.
I love
well, the other thing too, to
Dude.
tell them this is a safe place to put your concerns.
Yeah, right.
So-
No, that's good. Wonderful.
That's fun stuff.
it. Derailing here. How do you build trust that's already been broken?
Ooh, wow, that was off.
Sorry.
That was not on the schedule.
No,
Yeah, not on the schedule. I'm just thinking
That's
out
good.
loud, kind of.
That's good.
I think transparency is one of the most important things you can do as a leader. And when you screw up or you don't know how to do something, you've got to be transparent about it.
Right.
And you've got to go directly to that person. Nobody loves those conversations, right? But you've got to go to them and say, I feel like you've been upset, or I feel like this, or I realize that decision I made did not go the way you wanted it to go, but here's the why. And the one thing I will say, and I've had to talk to people about this before, is that sometimes a decision is made for the greater good, but there is compassion in that I know that this upset you. But what I want you to know is that it doesn't mean that this is the final, this is the end, this is the whatever. There will be a day you will turn around and be able to see some of the why. And that hindsight piece is very helpful. But if you don't have the trust, they're going to be like, oh, you're right. So if people know you care about them, and again, it doesn't have to be like smushy stuff. If they know that I've got your back, I want you to be the best person you can be. And even if they don't like me at the time, I want the best for you. And people know if you're a vindictive leader. They know if you're out to get somebody. But if you consistently pray for those people and think about those people and how can I best support them, the trust is going to be there. And like I said, if you don't know an answer, don't make it up.
Right.
Say, I don't know. Help me figure it out. Let's do that together. And I think the transparency piece is super important.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So, what about your leadership style is important to me. We've had 10 leaders on here. A lot of them have said particular things or whatever, but what's your leadership style?
Well, transformational leadership is something that was a concept that was very heavily taught over in the past 15, 20 years. And I do believe in that. And transformational leadership is where you are trying to motivate and you're trying to build culture and you're trying to build efficacy to move an organization forward. And
Transformational
leadership.
We haven't heard that.
It is you'll hear that more in the education world, but it is to lift the whole organization as you move forward towards a common goal. And then servant leadership, I think a lot of people say.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel that very deeply too. Again, it goes back to one of the most favorite things that my husband and I would do at the end of the year is my husband would come in and do a low country boil for the whole faculty. And that was something that he enjoyed doing, that I made sure that we were a part of the setting up, the serving, the cleaning up, not for the show of it, because that's caring for people. If a student had an accident or something, we would go to them because we wanted to, a car accident, for example, if it was near our campus, we would go to them because we wanted to stand and be with them until that parent could get there or whatever, because we want them to know we're here with you during this hard time.
Right.
Was that a policy you had in place where, or whatever you want to call it, but something where
A practice.
practice
We
that
just did it.
if someone got into a wreck, you'd send on campus or just anywhere?
If it was close enough to us to get to before the parent got there,
I got you.
we just didn't want a kid to stand alone until
Nice.
they had an adult there. And I know that seems like a strange thing, but when you can be with people in their most vulnerable time and stand there with them, it builds that relationship.
Absolutely.
And it just helps you know what to look for later for them to help. So
I didn't even really think about, I mean, I think of a principal, obviously, like leading teachers and the faculty and administrators and stuff like that. I don't even think about it in the sense of like the parents. Like, you know, the parents have to trust you too.
I would not have retired. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I just think like it's a different type of leader. I mean, that's a different type of leadership. Like parents have to trust the principal of their child's school. And maybe they don't, maybe, you know, I mean, but to be a really good principal, you want everyone to trust you. The students have to, I mean,
Well,
I didn't even think about.
I think a lot of parents trust maybe the system, right? So like me, and I'm just thinking out loud, I trust the system. I trust the school system. I trust the principals and the leaders to take care of my kids, train them up and teach them.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone that takes it serious and recognizes that they're a shepherd of a lot of people. Think about how many people she's actually leading. I didn't even. It's just now clicking.
I'm like,
so there's probably how many teachers?
We had about 80 to 90 teachers, and then you think about all of the classified staff.
500 people.
Well, we had over 100 faculty and staff, and then we have over 1,000 students.
Holy cow.
see, that's what I'm thinking is like if you take it like a corporate, like she's at the top, then this, and then this. The teachers are the managers of the students, which are, employees and so on and so forth. I mean, I don't know. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Well, and understand, too, that two things here is that I am a believer of you lead how you were led.
Okay.
And so sometimes that can be good or bad, but that's the part where you have to remember that all eyes are on you and that when you're leading through a situation, people are watching that. And so if you come into and this did not happen here in this district at all, but if you came into a situation where a teacher was struggling with a student and there was or an administrator was struggling with a student and they were being harsher or different than they needed to be, then you step in and you lead that conversation how you want that person to lead it in the future. That example, right? Okay, now on the other hand, in talking about parents and the people who will listen to this, there are people out here in this community who didn't agree with something I did or, and I will, the human part of that is hard. And the hardest part I think for, I'll say public educators, I'm assuming private educators too, sometimes things happen and we can't tell you the whole story. And you can't defend or deeply explain the why on some things because of confidentiality and other pieces like that. And it can be so frustrating because you're just like, I wish I could tell you everything, but I can't.
Wow.
And so, but what I do want, what I always want I want everyone to know that there was always a spirit of protection or a spirit of goodwill or to try to make the situation better. And so that's hard. And pray for your educational leaders.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's different now that I'm working more in the private sector and things like this. You can say all the things for the most part. And it is really hard for educators sometimes when they want the whole story to be told, but they can't. And so that's where that trust comes in.
Yeah.
So I want to build as much widespread trust as I can.
It's funny. I'm thinking again out loud here, but she's almost like a politician. In the private world, we often have freedom to do and say what we please. She has to lead from a position of I don't want to say protection, but thinking about the politics too, just like a politician or a sheriff or anyone that's voted in, because she sits at the helm of a really big operation. And I didn't even think about it being 1,500 people. That is crazy. So that's really good. Wow, we are honored to have.
Just remember, if it has
Edwards
public in front of it anywhere, then you're having to look out for
you're having
the
to
greater
lead
good and lead and all
100%. You're leading from a completely different angle than
And you're also, when I first became an administrator, I was an assistant principal at that same middle school, and it took me a while to finally go, your parents did not raise them. Got it. Like you have to make that shift and go, okay. So one of the things too is just get as much training as you can about people. I'm a certified poverty trainer, and some of the pieces that I took away from that were we're not all raised from the same place, and that doesn't mean that the values aren't as valued.
Right.
And so that's where you're having to see, and that goes for your adults too. Where did they come from? How does that impact who they are? So,
wow,
that's good. Who or what, I guess maybe, has been influential in your life?
I've been very fortunate to have been surrounded by supportive spouse, supportive parents, my personal parents. And also, I've just been able to work with good leaders. I've been able to work with people who want what's best for kids. And that has been a tremendous help. There are leaders who have come before me who said to me, you should go into leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Yes, you should do that. And so it's when we take the opportunity to see that in other people and drag it and pull it from them, that's a big deal.
Are you dragging it from anybody right now?
Mm-hmm.
You have people that you're intentional about pulling in and watching grow?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's good.
That is the most favorite thing about anything for me.
Yeah.
Is to get to watch it grow. In church, we talk about making a profession of faith.
Mm.
Okay, and a profession in that situation is a verb. You're professing. Mm-hmm. If you look at education, and this can be anything from working in a school or being a leader or, all the things, you want to be in a profession, the noun of faith, where that you are planting seeds, you're pulling things out of people with the faith that they're going to grow, even if you'll never see them. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the coolest thing. Like when they leave film, or you're just like, ooh, we planted that seed. And then sometimes you do get to see the flower come on the other side, and you're just like, oh. So that part that's the coolest part.
That's good. So do you do that organized? Do you have a
Excel spreadsheet?
She's probably got a Google sheet.
There's a Google sheet out there. There is a group of principals that I try to send emails to with some humor and some lessons. There are a few people I speak directly with because I understand their situations a little more, deeply, and are able to say, have you tried this? Have you thought about that kind of thing?
So you're currently mentoring some up-and-comers still.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent.
I'm not like, hey, I'm here for your visit.
Yeah. No, but informally.
Yeah, informally.
And then do you who's mentoring you?
Right now, I'm also doing some consulting work on another side of the world with the state, and I'm learning right now from some people who have been involved in policy for a long time, and so my eyes are being open to like how that works and how that's influenced and things like that. So
wow,
just different. I wish I could tell you there's been one person, but there've been so many, and then where we're talking about the Wheelhouse, building a crew model around people, I look at that and I think, my dad's the wisest man I know,
Oh, wow.
And so when you have your daddy who's most excited about, he's got 4, I'm the oldest of 4. We're all first-gen college students. He was a truck driver and retired from that. But he used to carry this big metal clipboard to all of his jobs. And he had a bumper sticker from all of our colleges on his clipboard so that he could brag about his kids and talk about his kids and things like that. And so when you have somebody who, I'm a daddy's girl, so I never do anything wrong. Plus I'm the oldest. And
he's still doing well?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Actually, he does a little work at the high school now. He cleans up after baseball games and paints the dugouts. And
so you said something. You said he's the wisest man you know? Mm-hmm. Can I interview him on this podcast?
Oh, you could.
Tell him I want to interview him.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Okay.
That's interesting. The wisest person that she knows.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know more about that.
And I've been very fortunate that my husband has always been supportive of going back to school. And that's the other thing, anyone who's listening, why you should be nice to educators, particularly, even if you don't like them, don't care, especially your administrators, it's a lifestyle. It is definitely not a 9 to 5. It's not even a 6 to 6. It's a constant. So, for example, prom was last night.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm aware. Mine went.
Beautiful. And I loved going. But I could not sleep until the Monday morning after prom.
I bet.
To know that every child had gotten home and been okay.
Worried to death.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So, but that truly is, it is a lifestyle, and you need to accept the fact that there's going to be the strange calls in the middle of the night or the whatever, and that when you have a supportive family around you, it makes all the difference.
Right.
So
think about that. I did. My eyes are being
care
open
for your
to so
people.
much. Well, I'm sitting here thinking, like, if my guys, I have guys that work and they were on a shutdown and they were out till midnight, I would be concerned. Like, I want to make sure they get home, right? And I'd stay up. I didn't even think about prom. She's got 1,000 kids, or maybe that's half of them, I guess.
yeah, I think they have
500
like
kids.
400 or 500, right?
Wow. And you know,
Yeah.
you see all the movies where on prom night people get killed in car accidents.
Right.
And wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, but know that your teachers are the same way.
Wow.
I mean, you own the concern about them.
Well, you
Right.
have ownership of the students and their wellness and their well-being. And that's crazy. And then I'm sitting here thinking, like, while that's materializing in my head, I'm thinking about all the things that she deals with, a principal or an educator would deal with all these kids and all of the different homes that they're raised in.
Well, and social media has become the biggest.
Yep.
And I will say that's one thing that when I retired, because I did 32 years, I've not missed the social media drama
I bet.
because our kids are so impacted by it. And they are, when we were growing up, I love to sound old now, when I was raised, when we left home at 18 or went to work, school, whatever, our family had us until we were 18 years old to influence us and to grow us.
Now you got them till about 13.
As soon as you put that smartphone in their hand,
Wow.
the world comes to them, and it changes. And our students are different because of it. The social media is brutal. I went into a classroom one day. I was covering a class for someone, and I had to kill some time. And so I said, how many of you, let's look at your cell phones now and see how many alerts and notifications. Of course, it was in the hundreds. This is after these students have been sitting in a room for almost 90 minutes, okay? So then I said, well, let's play the percentage game. Ladies, I'm going to ask you first. What percentage of what came in through your notifications was positive or uplifting?
Oh, my God.
The highest percentage I could get out of those kids was 20%.
And you made them figure that out.
The rest of it is noise. The rest of it is comparison. The rest of it is mean. It's got to know what's going on. And I think I'm seeing now, I have younger nieces and nephews, and their parents are anti-device and are going to try to keep them away from it as long as they can.
Is that good, though?
Yes.
Really?
There is a difference when you, and I kid you not, when you talk to a high school student who does not have social media by choice, some of them just choose now, no, or parental guidance, they're a different kid. I promise you.
Hang on. What you just said, you said by choice. There's kids out there that say they deny social media because they don't want to.
Yes.
How do you get that in somebody?
I think whenever I'd have that conversation with them, like, how'd you make this decision? You know, like, where's the maturity? How did you come up with this? And some of them will just say, I just realized I didn't need it. Like, I don't need that drama. I don't need that negativity.
We're way off track, but how old are these kids?
14, 15, 16.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my kids selfishly right now, but
You should.
I have a
I mean,
16-year-old that doesn't have social media. She just recently got Instagram, I guess, or one of them. I don't know. And then I have a 12-year-old that is dying to have all the social media.
Don't do it.
So, and I've been holding the fort down. But anyway, sorry, I don't want.
No, it's okay. And I want you to. The worst one for us, and of course, this 10 years you'll interview somebody else and they'll say a different platform.
Yeah.
It's Snapchat.
Snapchat.
Snapchat was ours because, of course, it went away. You know, things would go away instantly. And
Well, people think it goes away. Like kids don't get it. Like that's where
Snap. Maybe that's what my 16-year-old just got. That's bad. We got to get rid of that.
Snapchat is just like you take a picture of something or video or whatever, and then it just goes away. But whoever you send it to, they have ways of
they screenshot it or take a picture with their other phone or all the things. And
then it comes back to the kid.
And I'm just going to tell you, too, I mean, heck, it's while we're sitting here talking.
Yeah.
If parents realized the amount of nudity and pornography that the students are making and passing around,
Wow.
they'd be horrified.
Oh, my goodness. I don't want to know.
You do.
Oh, my
You
goodness.
You do. So
How old are these kids you talking about?
14, 15, 16, but don't, as soon as you hand them the phone,
It's over.
it's over. And don't forget that these kids are so good about hiding apps behind other apps.
Oh, I know.
And then, I'd have some parents say, well, she deleted her Snapchat account in front of me. I was like, and then she put it back on as soon as she walked away.
Oh,
Right.
my God.
I mean,
But yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
that's been some complexity added to the leadership piece.
Wow.
Is that when there are things that are truly out of your control, but they create such a disruption or they create such a problem that then it steps into the leadership you're supposed to be doing, there's a lot of frustration.
and now you're having
there.
to manage something else that's completely out of your. I mean, you can't
Out of your
manage what
control.
kids have Snapchat, and
Think about that, man. Wow.
it's a sad. I mean, yeah, very sad.
Next question. I completely derailed that, but
Well,
it was good.
Sorry.
So,
And I soapboxed that one. Sorry.
Well, here's
No,
the
that's
deal.
good.
No, it was good. I mean, it's real.
You're making an
And,
impact.
Yeah, and so, but your influence, your impact, your influence, your leadership style has to change based on all those variables, and so that's interesting. And for everyone listening, need to be aware that there are things out there that you don't know are there, or that you do know are there, but you have to change your leadership style based on what you're dealing with. So it's good.
Well, I mean, leadership isn't just at the top of the food chain in your company or at the school or whatever. It's also within your home
100%.
with your friends. You know, it's like, so this is my husband and I are the leaders in our kids' lives. You know, it's just, it's impactful.
I love that you said that too, because my husband and I have talked, we've been married 30 years. Did we ever sit down and have really significant intentional conversations about this is how we intend to live our life and raise our kids?
Did you?
No. Did we talk about doing that? Of course. But
Right.
there wasn't a 3-ring binder. We never put that together. This is what that's going to be. But so what I do encourage now as young people get married or as they're starting to have children is to sit down and be intentional about what do you want your parenting style to be. And of course, it's always perfect, right? It always goes exactly right.
Yes. If you plan it, it will not happen that way.
Right. Mhm. But you need to at least have the conversation. And so exactly what you said, I want people to know that leadership's not just who's sitting in the chair wherever. It begins at home. And you lead your home and you lead your children because they're going to lead how they were led. And they're watching to see how you handle things. And so that, I think, is a critical piece. And I love that you said that. And I think if more parents would embrace the fact that I'm the leader of my home, things would be better.
Yeah.
I mean, we did have situations where parents would come in and the kid would be just off the chain is a nice way to say it. And they would say, I just don't know what to do with them. I don't know what to do with them anymore. What should I do with them? And we're like, well, if you lost them back here, it's going to be harder to get them back. And so I love that just to remember everybody's a leader in some capacity.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that the first couple of weeks. And we did talk about leading our kids and our children and our families. And no, that's good. Maddie, next question.
Well, we kind of have said a lot, but you got any good stories you can tell us without names?
Yeah, she has to be careful because this is her community.
Well, I have to be careful too but there's been some
Or even like
funny
feel good
stuff. I mean, there's just been some really funny stuff that I don't know if you as a parent have ever said something to your kid and then you go, I never thought I would string that together in a sentence. Like, do not put a crayon on the dog's lips. You know,
right,
you're like,
yeah.
put that together. There have been some times and things that I had to, when I was principal at the middle school back in Conyers years ago. I said
Conyers?
I was at Memorial Middle School.
Really?
Did you go there?
I went to Edwards.
You were one of those. I'm just kidding.
Sorry. Go ahead with your story.
No, I was there. I was there the year that Memorial opened.
Okay.
And so taught there for 7 years and was assistant principal and principal there. And one of the funniest things we had happen was they decided that the kids who read the most books or whatever, somebody would have to kiss a pig. Well, I think we all know where this went.
Oh my
That'd be me.
goodness.
Now, I mentioned I'm from Conyers. So the whole pig situation, we were a little more suburbanized by then. And so anyway, some teacher borrowed a pig from somebody, brings the pig, and then it's like, and this wasn't a piglet.
A big pig.
A big pig. So they put the big pig in this little gated area that was outside of a classroom. It was supposed to be the little garden that classroom planted. Well, I think we all know what happened. Well, then we have all of the kids in the gym for this giant assembly for the pig kissing and other things. And all of a sudden there's a bomb threat.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's like bomb threat number 3. So we know it's not real, but we still have the fire department there. And we decided to leave all the kids in the gym while we do all the investigation. So the fire department was at the end of the hallway where the garden was down there. And we come down there and we're like, we need to go get the pig. Well, the pig's owner was there. And the fireman said, you're not going down there because we've got to investigate all this. And I said, well, if this doesn't go well, at least we'll have bacon bits.
Oh my gosh.
That was not building trust that day.
Oh, Lord.
That was not building trust that day.
That's really funny.
But they did end up bringing the pig down to the gym, and there was a kiss, and both of us were traumatized, and it was great. I think
someone actually kissed the pig.
I did.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Did you miss
It had
that?
like poop all over its snout and all the things, and I was like,
gosh.
this is not what I signed up for. But yeah, y'all read.
Yeah.
You read. But
That's great.
no, there were
That's
fun
funny.
things, and then some of the most fun things to do with our kids is to help them plan their senior pranks. I was like, you can prank as long as it's butter knife edgy, and I'm involved so that we don't make mistakes. And so,
Wow.
but they still got me on a couple of good things. But
That's funny.
You have to have a little fun too.
Yeah, yeah. I want to be the person that someone calls to bring my pet pig to have. Like, I don't have a pet pig, but that's what I would have to get in order to be that person that
Yeah.
someone calls,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And we had to have somebody who knew a guy. Like,
Right,
I know
like-
somebody who could go get this pig. We're like, okay.
You're like,
Yeah.
I really thought this was going to fall flat, but here you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. They're
Crazy.
it's fun stuff.
Oh, that's good. All right. So what do you think is the most important mandate as a leader?
She doesn't know all the mandates. So attribute.
Attribute, or
Well,
quality.
we could read 20 of them. I have 20, but you could just probably say one and it'll
Trust
be.
is probably on there, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you have to build trust, and I think you have to want to lead. You have to. I know not everybody. If you tell somebody it needs to be a calling, they're like, okay, that's a little much. It kind of does. I mean, you've got to be convicted that you want to do this work, and you want to do it for the right reasons.
Right.
If you're doing it for the huge paycheck and the big chair,
It won't last long.
no, it won't last long.
No.
You have to want to care about people and make an impact,
Yeah.
and know that they're better when they left you.
Wow. So it is a calling. I would agree with that.
Well, and it's like the 3 pillars. Did you call them pillars of the academic?
The legs to the stool.
The legs to the stool.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like all 3 of those touched on mandates or attributes that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were teamwork, trust.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. All that. Yeah. Collaboration, teamwork,
Yeah.
trust. Yeah.
Taking
right.
care of your people.
Right.
I want to hear like one of the best senior pranks.
Well, let's see. I did help them put a smart car in the cafeteria.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently at the school before I got there at the old high schools.
Wait a minute. You helped them.
I made some suggestions.
It wasn't your smart car.
No, it was not mine.
You were the person that they call when they say, I need a smart car.
No, we had a student who had a smart car, and he was willing to take off the doors and all the
wow.
things. They put a big jumpy house inside of the cafeteria. That was pretty fun. They've done slip and slide on the front yard. They really got me at this last graduation, though, because that became the big thing, is that they would hand me something as they walked through.
Mm-hmm.
So that was usually pretty cute. And then this past year, the best one because we always try to theme it with the year. And what was Michael Jordan's number?
23.
Okay. So the graduating class of 2023, I think I'm getting off unscathed. Like we've gotten through this. Like they're handing me their own little cards as they come through. The last graduate brings a goat.
Oh my!
Like a real goat.
Oh wait,
up
I
on the
heard
stage.
about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it
And
was
then handed it to you, like handed
me the leash, and it was the greatest of all time thing, right?
Oh,
So I'm holding the leash. We're laughing, and God love him, the other assistant principal, because my kids were really good about planning. I told them, if you're going to plan a prank, it can't cause harm, it can't cause mess. Have a plan. So I'm standing there holding this goat, going, I have no idea what to do with this goat. And the other assistant principal steps in front of me. He goes, "You are to hand me the goat." It's like, here's the goat, so he could take it off.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
The
so
kids
good.
listening to our show are coming up with some ideas.
Oh yeah.
But how fun is it? Again, it goes back to her leadership. Like, what kids? I mean, Morgan County is a totally awesome school system. I
is.
mean, everything is great. The community is great. But, like, how many high schoolers do you know that are like, okay, well, let's get with
Let's give it the
the
principal.
principal and figure out what our senior, it just
No,
shows.
I did not know about the goat. I did not know about that at all. But I was like,
But they were
oh, mercy.
trusting enough to know that you weren't going to be like, what?
Yeah,
You know?
filing charges
Right.
or something.
Yeah, as long as we have a plan, people have a plan.
Wow.
Goat's
So-
not injured, we're good.
Yeah.
So tell me about your impact. So if I asked you, what kind of impact do you want to have? Like, or did you have, or do you aspire to have? And that could have changed, right? So between before and now. But talk about the impact that you desire to have on the world for the balance of your life.
For the balance. So the work that I was allowed to get into, this Career Academy piece, because I was a 7th grade academic teacher, and so much of Career Academy work is around career technical classes or how things tie together to get young people to a place where they can be successful in the most efficient way. The vast majority of your people who are first-gen college students go into healthcare education. And the reason they do that is because that's what they were exposed to. Those were the first professions they were genuinely exposed to. So if there's ever a lasting impact I want to have, I like to think of it as ripples, is that if that one young person has now been exposed to a different career or finds a skill or finds something that they love about themselves, like I love AP chemistry and AP biology, so I know I want to go into a science field.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes their trajectory or makes it better. That ripples, not just for them, but for their children and their children's children and their community. And so even the work with the Wheelhouse right now, if we're able to help people become better or more or see beyond what they already know, then those ripples keep going. And so
Generational change.
yeah, generational change.
And you want to be a part of
Wow.
that.
I
That's
do,
good.
but my name doesn't have to be anywhere in it or near it because that doesn't matter.
Well, it's not about you.
It's not about me. It's that profession of faith that we're throwing that rock, and that's going to ripple out and make them and their people better.
That's really,
Isn't
really,
that cool?
really profound.
I love it.
Yeah, that's probably going to be my takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it as it ripples.
Yeah.
It starts small, and it gets bigger, bigger, and bigger. You go throw a rock in the water or the lake, and it just continues to ripple out. Or if you drive a boat across the ocean, and it just the waves.
It's the wake.
Yeah.
But you
Wow.
have to remember that also happens if you do something negative. If you do something bad or if you do
Wow.
something negative, same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to make sure that the seeds you're planting or the rocks, let's say pebbles, throwing rocks sounds bad. Drop the rock, people.
Drop the rock.
But those pebbles, you want those to always be positive.
Well, and I think my question earlier about like how do you gain trust back of someone, like how do you get trust back if you've broken it? The ripple, I feel like, of something negative or something that impacted for the wrong reasons or something, that one's way more strong. And it's harder to come back from something like that than something positive.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's like it's hard to always tell people that they're doing a great job you don't want to be redundant. But then as soon as one bad thing happens, it's like, well, now, you can have 100 good comments about something, and then there's one bad comment, and that's what people focus on.
That's what they remember.
Because exactly. And that's what my ripple it's like a stone for negative.
And then, you have to say too, I can't remember which one this came from. I love Brene Brown. Clear is kind. Mm-hmm. And where you're clear with somebody about where they need to make an improvement or whatever is going to be better received if you've already got trust and things like that. But it's also true that it takes, 7 positives to make up for that one negative. Yeah. And there are some times that you're just like, dang, I don't know if I can repair that.
Right.
But I'm going to try. But
yeah, it's kind of like going in debt. They say it's a lot easier to get in than get out. It's a lot easier to tarnish a relationship or a person when you say things negative. And it's really something. That's profound, though, the ripple. I like that.
It's really good.
That's good.
Cool.
What's the most important message to you? Obviously we're going to land the plane. Yeah. No, we're good, but we're going to land the plane. So if you had one thing that, you're going down in history and you got one more thing to say, what would you say?
Plant good seeds.
Plant good seeds.
Plant good seeds.
Okay. So be a farmer.
Be a farmer.
That's good.
But you get to go out on the boat and throw pebbles too. So.
I love it. I love the ripple thing.
The seeds are what you throw.
Yeah.
So plant more seeds.
Plant good seeds.
Plant good seeds. Okay. Mm-hmm. In good dirt?
Sometimes it's our responsibility to fertilize the dirt. Sounds terrible. To enrich the soil.
Okay.
Because you will have somebody that you see something in, and you're planting those seeds, but you also have to be sure that you're helping with that environment around them and things like that. Wow. I give this example of I am fairly certain that I should have been an Olympic ice skater. Fairly certain.
Fairly certain.
Yep. And I would have been really good at it because I would have picked out all the right songs and all the things. However, I was born in Conyers, Georgia. Mm-hmm. How many ice rinks were around there? None. So was I ever able to realize this dream? No. Am I going to be okay? Yes. Maybe I was supposed to be a concert violinist. I don't know. I've never picked up a violin. Mm. So part of our job is where we see pieces and parts is to help pull things together so people can try things, people can experience things so that we can help them. There's a saying we used to say, I can see what you can be. And it just is a matter of...
These little one-liners.
Man, she's full of them. Bro, so that's a Facebook post, Maddie.
Yes.
Say it again.
I don't remember what I say.
I see what you can be.
I can see what you can be.
I can see what you can be.
We did that as a T-shirt one year. Because
Oh, man. Do you know how encouraging that is?
But we think about it as on my end, on students who have never seen something or experienced something or have touched something, which is why it's so cool to be in our school system, because the kindergartners go over and do all sorts of things in the middle, all the things to get to touch and experience things so we can bridge kids out because they've had that experience. For your employees, you can see things in them that they can't. And so that's where sometimes that encouragement or enriching their soil by allowing them to try new things or innovate or go to this training.
Wow.
All you're doing is fertilizing this. We'll call that enriching. Enriching the soil.
Enriching.
We're not calling the pig back for the fertilization.
No pig.
No, I think that's, because I think that sometimes it goes like you're just smooth sailing and sometimes people aren't leader. There's some people who are just, I like to follow. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you are a good leader and you can see something in someone, whether it be a student or a teacher or a colleague or whatever, and you kind of pull that out of them and you better them for it, whether it be professionally or physically and mentally, whatever it is, that takes a really, strong isn't the right word, but like influential person to really be able to find that one thing that sets someone apart that they may not be seeing.
But it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It really is.
I'm sure I haven't ever done that, but I'm going to challenge myself to, because
that's really cool. That's leadership defined.
Yeah.
Right. So intentional about growing others.
Yeah.
And that's what leaders do. So some people don't see it that way, but a great leader. So on this show, we talk about impact, and, you know, when you want to make an impact, you want to influence, and we got the whole teaching and all that stuff. You can go back to listen to that. But essentially, at the end of the day, we want people to come on the show. We want our listeners, to be inspired by what we're doing here and learn these little nuggets of wisdom that you put out today. And so it's been perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we aim for.
I love it.
That's cool.
Today's been great.
It's good.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Yes.
My
thank
mom
you.
would be, look, Mom, that ain't in conduct.
She'd be proud.
I got a mic and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I got
That's
a
funny.
mic. Well, thank you for coming, Dr. Edwards. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy every one of them. But this one was cool. Talking to an educator, which is really cool. I learned a lot today that I didn't ever think about. So,
Well, I'm
Thanks for
glad, because
sharing.
the more we know, I mean, the more we learn about all the pieces and parts,
well, there's so many.
we're enriching our soil.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
so many different industries out there that, and I've been buried up in mine for 20 years, but it goes so deep. Leadership goes so far, and so good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Great. I love it.
All right. Thank you
Signing
so
off.
much.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.